future is uncertain, right? That's why it's called the mystery, and the present is gift, and that's why you need to live it in the moment. The markets are so dynamic, so dynamic. One day it is something that you are, trying to track and chase. One day it's another thing. One day it's a person. Today we're all tracking Trump, for example. Why do I need to do bungee jumping? I get to do that every day in the markets. Why do I need a merry-go-round to get a tizzy? I get that in the markets. So I think markets is my mecca. Let me put it that way. It gives me the joy of a pilgrimage. It gives me the joy of pubbing or clubbing. And for a teetotaler, that's a big high. No, honestly, for me, every day is a kick because I'm so excited. I never say, thank God it's Friday. I said, oh wow, it's a Monday. Global diversification, therefore, is very important. Growth and inflation, and that's going to be constant tug of war. There are three T's which are playing. One is Trump, second is tariff, and the resultant trauma that portfolios are witnessing and the globe is witnessing. And therefore, the fourth T, therefore, is as an economy or as an investor, is how do you thrive? So these are the four T's that we need to keep in mind. Tariffs, I would say, Trump के दिमाग में आता है. हमारे तो केवल दिल में आता है, दिमाग में नहीं आता है. See, we all love greens, by the way, okay? Whether it's in our diet or in the markets, we love greens in the portfolio. See, as investors, as fund managers, we are GARP, growth at a reasonable price. We are not BAP, buy at any price. And Astra Shastra is a non-negotiable because this market is actually going to be like Kurukshetra. So I'm saying every goal, I don't need to compromise on my goal. I don't need to compromise on my diet. I don't need to compromise on my movie preferences. So keep that in mind that every goal has an asset class to take care of. My portfolio is a Red Bull portfolio.
Welcome to the first episode of House of Equintis Season 2, where we meet certain path-breaking market luminaries who would help you build your journey into the world of personal finance. And today we have someone equally powerful in the world of finance who can be equated to Bollywood's leading lady in a blockbuster film. Yes, you heard that right. She's a powerhouse of expertise and experience, and none other than Lakshmi Iyer herself, CEO at Investment and Strategy, Kotak Alternate Asset Managers. Her journey into the markets, her love for food, and passion for Bollywood makes her the perfect guest for the mega start of House of Equintis. Stick around, take notes if you're just starting off into the world of investing. Hey Lakshmi, welcome to our podcast today. It's great having you here. Okay, so we'll start with something about your background and how did you come here. So you are known for making things, even the complex whole world of investments, quite easy or sounding fun, like a Bollywood masala movie. You have reached to the top of the finance industry, guided by your strategic thinking, the leadership. So where did it all start for you?
Actually, if you ask me honestly, did I plan for all this? The very, very honest answer is a no, because I can't plan for too much in the future because future is uncertain, right? That's why it's called the mystery, and the present is gift, and that's why you need to live it in the moment. It all started off with just the fact that, okay, I knew that what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do dissection of bodies, whether it was animals or human beings. I didn't want to do that. I was very clear that right brain is a little bit active. I write a little bit of poems sometimes when I get time, but I knew that left brain is more active, which is where the love for numbers kind of manifested. So I said it'll be something to do with numbers. That's all I knew. एंड देन बोलते हैं ना, जैसे कोई चीज़ को बहुत शिद्दत से चाहो तो कायनात जुड़ जाती है. इट्स जस्ट दैट probably the universe kind of got together because before Kotak, I was with this firm called Credence for just about 2 years, little under 2 years, and that also happened totally luck by chance. When I remember that, have you seen Chennai Express movie? Goa is on, Goa is not on. Yeah. It exactly happened with me 25 years back, where my friend was supposed to go to Goa and then no Goa, and then she was the person who had shortlisted that job opportunity, and I just did like a body double for her. I just went and landed up there. Back then you could do all of that, right? So it is so incidental that when you're thinking of something and it just happened, because Credence was an analytics firm then. Yeah. Of course, now they do many more things, including software solutions and treasury solutions and all of that. So that's how my career journey started off. And Kotak in the non-bank, Kotak was not a bank then, Kotak in the non-bank was the first client, first in the bank, it was State Bank of India. The second for me was Kotak, and that's where I was posted at Kotak. Because when you're installing a software, glitches hota hai, markets guys don't know technology guys don't know markets, so it just kind of worked very handy. So you kind of fit in. Wherever there was a space, I just found my way to fit in, and with the legit knowledge that requires. And then they said, okay, will you manage a fund? I said, Pata nahi, I don't know how to manage a fund, but why don't you make me an offer as a research analyst, because that's what I've been doing here. Then I'll understand the tricks of the trades, and फिर कोशिश करूँगी to get into it. But yeah, you have to keep telling yourself even at that point in time that all is well. Even when you're getting into something, then or now, you have to keep training your mind to say all is well, and things actually get well. That's how I got into the
That's
world
nice.
of financial services.
So, was there at any point in time that aha moment, like where you say, this is what I want to do, and I've got what it takes to be there, to where you are today?
Honestly, the markets are so dynamic, so dynamic. One day it is something that you are, trying to track and chase. One day it's another thing. One day it's a person. Today we're all tracking Trump, for example. We're tracking the tariffs. So all of that is so much of adrenaline rush. Why do I need to do bungee jumping? I get to do that every day in the markets. Why do I need a merry-go-round to get a tizzy? I get that in the markets. So I think markets is my mecca. Let me put it that way. It gives me the joy of a pilgrimage. It gives me the joy of pubbing or clubbing. And for a teetotaler, that's a big high.
Okay, great. I get the vibe accordingly, given I'm a teetotaler too. Okay, so you were named as one of Asia's top 25 most influential women in asset management. How did it feel? How does it feel?
So, now that is history, of course, because you have to keep popping up because you're as good as the previous
So,
day.
where do you think is the next? What do you think would give you that kick? If I ask that, if that's history, what would give you that kick?
Honestly, for me, every day is a kick because I'm so excited. I never say, thank God it's Friday. I said, oh wow, it's a Monday. So for me, it's a very different acronym because I love my job so much that for me, each day is trying to do something different or maybe doing the same thing differently. That's also an excitement factor for me. So that's point number one. But, to your point on that top 25, that recognition, why that is special? Because when I met my fellow, winners who won similar accolades from across the region outside, which is in Asia, I realized that there are so many, having the similar kind of thread that there are very few women in financial services.
That
So,
I would agree.
there when you're making it, and top 25 in Asia, that was really a very humbling moment, and that excitement and the fact that, when I can do this, I can probably motivate many more women to do that. I think that was the takeaway and take home for me. And I felt that TKR, we are like the rest of Asia, whether it's Philippines, whether it is Taiwan. I had women from different those regions also as part of my forum who were felicitated. So yeah, that was my big take home, that I need to motivate more women because I think women have this very, very high EQ apart from just the IQ, and they can make it big in financial services.
I think you have done that. You're motivated quite of you, at least I can tell you that. So, managing money, I'll try the analogies of Bollywood, the way you kind of do it. So, managing money is like directing a blockbuster. You have your equities, you have your fixed income, real estate. However, the market volatility kind of could act as the villains, right? So, given your exposure so many years at ups and downs, how do you kind of manage or deal with these kinds of villains, in your words?
So, the way you said villain, and that's a good analogy because I use that analogy,
Okay.
in different forums depending on how the requirement is. But the thing is, that is our real life villain that we are looking at from a market standpoint. That real life villain is inflation.
Oh, absolutely.
And what happens is that, again, if you bring the real life, which is the movie life, the hero and heroine is somebody, which is their part of every film. But even in a family movie, like Suraj Barjatya typically makes family movies, even in those kind of movies, villain is constant. The name and the morphing of the villain obviously can keep changing. So constant endeavor is that. So market volatility is definitely one villain. Inflation is another biggest villain, which is going to be like a perma villain in your life, and that villain never ages. So what you therefore need to do is to deal with those villains. You have to keep morphing yourself from a hero to heroine to a character actor at different points in time, and sometimes even take backstage. I would say, because it's not necessary hero and heroine, the male and female protagonists in a movie are always seen as doing something, right? They're always there in a meaty role. Investment life is not about that. Investment life is also taking up backstage, do the behind the curtain, the boring job, the not so jazzy job. And that is when you'll be able to slay the market villain, which is inflation. That's very important in your entire wealth creation journey. That's something which is a non-negotiable.
That's a great takeaway for our viewers, I would say. So, stepping apart from these traditional investments that we spoke of, equities and fixed income, these days there's a new trend with these fancy investments that you see, especially say in the unlisted or the pre-IPO market, the unicorns or the startup investing alternatives. I mean, it could be debt, it could be equities, or even physical assets to say cryptos, arts. I mean, all of this jazz, right? So, and especially it's more among the millennials, if I were to kind of
Sure.
put in. So, what is your view there? Who do you think this kind of fancy investments are actually for? I mean, and on occasions, I also have heard those beliefs that it gives you that hockey stick kind of a growth. Because some of these investments are those direct curves, right?
Yeah, of
if you're
course.
right, you get it.
You know, hockey stick can be used for the game. It can give you a kick on the butt also, right? So I think these investments, as you alluded to, could be very much like that. And let me give you a food analogy. And I love Pani Puri, for example. When I'd gone to a place called Urban Tadka, I don't know if the place still exists, but they offered
it does
me.
exist. Quite a
It
few
does
places,
exist? Okay.
yeah.
So they offered you vodka infused Pani Puri. Now, I'm a teetotaler, so it didn't make sense to me. So I just had it plain and solo. So why I give you this analogy is to tell you that all of these exotics are like vodka spiked pani puri. It's great. It may or may not give you intoxication if you play it right. It's so very critical. But it can, staying with the food analogy, because I'm a big foodie also, it can be like papad. It cannot probably digest for the next 48 or 72 hours. So I think how much, but that doesn't mean that, households, and typically Gujarati and maybe, Punjabi, Sindhi households love their papad. I also like papad, but I've kind of tried to cut off it as much as possible. So have it as a tail end portion of your meal. Don't make it your meal.
Okay.
Because then indigestion is inevitable. So I think that is the crux that you need to keep in mind, because some of these asset classes are very difficult to plot for cash flow. See, as investors or as students of market, we've learned to plot cash flows, read balance sheets, analyze P&L. Crypto, I tell people that ask a 20 minus in age. I'm 40 plus in age. What do I
That's
give you a
true.
view?
That's true.
How can I give you a view? But keep in mind that they're not your superheroes. They're not your superfoods. These are the probably foods that could be more like allergens if consumed in disproportionate quantities. I think that's how you need to look at it.
That's absolutely true, I would say there. Okay, so following up from our earlier conversation where we say asset classes diversification is one thing, how do you kind of advise when it comes to diversification, even geographically? Do you think, given the current macro situations, we'll come to it a step later, that one should also have a geographic diversification in the portfolio? Does it work well?
Well, I think, if you take last 10 years, and see, when we're talking about wealth creation, it's always talking about years, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's like a bamboo tree, you keep watering it first 2-3 years, you feel, yeah, what the hell is happening?
Nothing's
Is my water going waste? And then it shoots up, and that's the joy, and that's the patient pill that we all need to have. But what happens, if you ask me from an India standpoint, given that bulk of our tracking happens in India, I think India so far has, I would say, displayed Heropanti. It has been like that lone star shining, and it's done pretty well. But India will also have its moments of, Chichorapan. So Heropanti can morph into Chichorapan probably at times, and that's where diversification comes in very handy. Okay. And there I would say global diversification therefore is very important, because dollar rupee also can have its own mood swings, it can have its ups and downs, and to probably get some shock absorbers for the currency and for some bit of your Indian diversification, I think markets like US are great diversifiers. Okay. Because it's the largest economy of the world. It is the tech capital of the world. There is innovation happening. So I think for diversification, I think should you have it? The answer is definitely yes.
Okay.
Again, how much should you have it? No rule of thumb as such, but I think 15-20% of your financial portfolio diversified geographically, I think is a good job.
Oh, that's lovely. Because I mean, yes, people have different answers. They're like 15-20% when you mention some states, a 5-10%, depending again on the risk appetite, I believe. As a
That's
thumb.
true. That's true.
So since we are on to markets and different regions, let's come to a little bit of the macro given what's happening. So US recently, the US Fed kind of kept the rate steady at 4.2, 4.5 kind, indicating couple of rate cuts this year. We are due for our own policy review meeting on 9th April,
Yeah.
where the markets expect, right, that RBI might reduce rates. So what's your take and view there to the extent of cuts by both of Fed and RBI in 25 for that matter?
So today, if you look at the globe, okay, and we've just finished our pilgrimage, the Prayagraj. Even I was there to take the holy dip, and the market is actually like a Triveni Sangam right now. There's a confluence of three forces playing. One is obviously the US, the second is India within Asia, and the third is Europe. Okay, so these are the three confluence of factors, and why I would say confluence is because US is witnessing something known as I don't. It's a very strong word, but the economy is slowing down. Okay, formal forecasts are getting cut, and inflation is sticky. So it's similar to a stagflationary kind of a scenario. India inflation is pretty much in tolerable limits, which is why we
Right,
saw a rate cut in February. We probably may see one more rate cut in the month of April. And Europe is in a different, I would say, strata altogether, where the growth is looking much better than the US, and there again, inflation is not really too much of an issue. So when you are seeing the confluence of all these factors, it's pointing towards the fact that India probably still could remain an oasis in the desert, if assuming, but desert it is, so you have to witness these sandstorms, and that is where I'd say that it's a very fine balance that we as policymakers have to decide between growth and inflation, and that's going to be constant tug of war. So I'd say that, well, India definitely has space to open up in terms of rate cuts. Is it going to be April or is it going to be June? I'm not so fixated about it because we've just seen one rate cut.
Yes.
Are we going to see series of rate cuts in India? Very unlikely, because we still want to have an inflation target of 4%, which seems to be the case right now. But as I told you, globally, when I gave you Triveni Sangam, there is other three T's which are playing. One is Trump, second is tariff, and the resultant trauma that portfolios are witnessing and the globe is witnessing. And therefore, the fourth T, therefore, is as an economy or as an investor, is how do you thrive? So these are the four T's that we need to keep in mind when we are navigating this global macro.
So that's where my next question was. So what's that view with the US Trump? I mean, the whole thing that he has around tariffs, right? Because, and how do you feel? Because the easing, I mean, the whole point that RBI might need to do a higher easing if the reciprocal tariffs possibly are more than anticipated.
Correct.
So there's a strong possibility of that.
Very high probability, yeah.
Okay, so that's where I was seeking a view.
Yeah, but tariffs, I would say, Trump के दिमाग में आता है, हमारे तो केवल दिल में आता है, दिमाग में नहीं आता है, honestly, because how do you plan for something which is probably the US baby, or it is something which Mr. Trump is going to decide. The max we can do is, as I said, insulate portfolios. Creation of portfolios is inevitable. Trying to do the waiting game is something which we do not recommend. That is not something which should be done as an investor. So the next best thing you do is insulation. You insulate, you protect, and you move on. And this is like summiting Mount Everest, right? Mount Everest, is obviously ice formation. You have to navigate. So yeah, you need to have crampons on your shoes. You need to have your insulated jackets, and you have to have oxygen cylinders. So I think that is the way to navigate the Trump tariff regime, which will traumatize you as your portfolios can look up and down, red mostly, green lesser, but thriving is the fourth T that we need to keep in mind when you're navigating this, but navigate we must.
That's a lovely key takeaway, I would say, for the viewers. So since we are onto markets, that it might look red, green. So last few days, few weeks, I would say it's still a slight recovery there. So, what's your view? Will it sustain? And if I were to put it as a broader market recovery in the next 6 to 12 months, what's your take there?
See, we all love greens, by the way, okay? Whether it's in our diet or in the markets, we love greens in the portfolio. But even red is good sometimes. Beetroot is red, for example, but very good for your blood. I won't say bloodbath is good for the markets, but everything looks good at a price. See, as investors, as fund managers, we are GARP, growth at a reasonable price. We are not BAP, buy at any price. So
Okay.
how do you end up buying at any price when you know that valuations don't justify? So in that sense, the recent market correction and then the bump up is great news. But are we completely out of the woods? I would say we are probably more than the intermission phase. But puri picture to abhi baki hai because it is not fully manifested. So I would say that you will still see some halchals in the market which will definitely make your dhadkan up and down. But I think you have to keep telling yourself, have you seen
All
the
is
movie
well.
Three Idiots?
All is well.
The black chowkidar keeps telling all is well.
All is well.
And you have to keep touching your heart and tell that because if you do not do that, then the market fluctuations will absolutely leave you insomniac, and that's not something that you want to let go in your portfolio. So I would say that can we see probably some more downside in the market? Well, that's not ruled out, but I think whoever likes to invest and whoever told you that markets were a dead man's heartbeat, because dead man doesn't have a heartbeat.
True.
So I think if you're going to have palpitations in your heart, the markets will have way more palpitations. But navigation is the key. And Astra Shastra is a non-negotiable, because this market is actually going to behave like Kurukshetra.
Okay, that's a great analogy. So, for someone who's a beginner looking to invest directly into equity markets, how would you advise that person to stagger his investments? And while you just slightly mentioned, I mean, the strategy that you would advocate, growth, value, growth at a reasonable rate. So, you did allude, right? It's growth at a reasonable rate. So, for him, how would you say that one should kind of enter into equity markets?
So, it's like this. If, and we're all, Mumbaiites, I call it Bombay also, but chalo, theek hai,
I still
Mumbaikars.
call it Bombay, so I can
Even I still,
I
for
still
me,
call it Bombay.
For me, Mumbai is the city, Bombay is the emotion. So I'm so.
I absolutely agree there.
So for me, because it's that way, I would say that if I have to travel, say from Mumbai to Goa, I have options. What do? I can drive. I can take a train. I can fly, and soon Mumbai will have the Ro-Ro, and we can take a Ro-Ro. So I'm saying you can take a bus also, by the way. So with all these like road, rail, transportation available, the driving analogy from Bombay to Goa is exactly the same, that a beginner should decide how he or she wants to approach equity investing or just investments in the market. Since you said equities, let's stick with equities. I'd say for DIY, do it yourself investor, you can do stocks also. Directly stocks is absolutely fine. But if you know for sure that you have discipline like what Eklavya had, okay? Because Dronacharya, Aka Guru, is the market. You are going to be the shishya of the markets, but do you have discipline like what Eklavya had in archery? Then DIY market is for you, even as a beginner. But if that's not the case, then you already have so many advisors, and they are your Sarathis, they are your Krishna. So even Arjun needed a Sarathi. So even to a beginner or to a virtuoso, I would say don't shy away from having your Sarathi, and your Sarathi is your advisor. So don't shy away from that, because whether it was Arjun in Mahabharata or it was probably Saina Nehwal or Sachin Tendulkar, they all needed their Dronacharya. So don't shy away from that. So then equity mutual funds, PMSs, AIFs, whatever you like. The vehicle of participation is secondary, but what is important is what do I want to achieve? And in what time period? Once you set that goal right, okay, I need to reach Goa in exactly 2 hours, then whatever be my love for driving is not for me. I think that's the way a beginner should approach this investment, because please keep in mind, Guru will take Guru Dakshina. And as Shishya, you have no choice
But give that.
That is correct, yes.
So you just mentioned you need to have the goals and where you're reaching, right? So goal setting, in a sense, some people actually get confused, right? People have multiple goals, and where do you think investing can help? I mean, how do you prioritize those goals, right? Because For a beginner, he might have 10 different goals. I
Yeah.
mean, understanding, prioritizing that, and achieving that with investments.
Right.
That whole wealth creation. I
Yeah.
mean, how would you kind of
See,
suggest that?
Bollywood analogy comes very, very handy here, and I'm a big Bollywood fan, right? So Bollywood has different genres, right? So you had that Raj and Simran era where you saw like real amazing rom-com, some romantic stuff. You see drama,
Yeah.
the family stuff, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. You see all of those. You see a lot of action movies. You see thrillers. The creation of MI equivalent. You see all of that. So when you have so many genres and everything has its own khacha, I would say you can have multiple goals, and every goal, if you work backward, has an asset class which helps you fulfill that goal.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. If I say I'm turning gluten free, but I love pizzas, uh, I have jowar pizzas. I don't need to have maida. It's very clear. I love cakes, but I'm trying to stay off sweet or maida, which is refined flour. I have paleo. So you have paleo diet, which has got almond flour, and you have stevia, which is plant based. So I'm saying every goal, I don't need to compromise on my goal. I don't need to compromise on my diet. I don't need to compromise on my movie preferences. So keep that in mind that every goal has an asset class to take care of. As they say, हर एक friend जरूरी होता है, हर एक goal जरूरी होता है. I can have a 1-year goal, I can have a 10-year goal. 1-year goal, I will fulfill it through fixed income. 10-year goal, I will fulfill it through equities. That's the way I should plan. But plan we must, and goal we must definitely have.
Okay, that's absolutely great. So, given that we could have a fixed income for a short period, equities for a long period, I am very sure our viewers would like to understand how does your portfolio look? Where are we loaded? Equities, debt, mutual funds, and what is that ideal diversification one should hold in our portfolios? I mean, to understand how we reach to our goals.
I am a very, very, very boring investor. And, investments actually have to sleep like how Kumbhakaran used to do. And then, one fine day when you have to wake him up, Nagara Dole will happen and he will wake up for sure. But my investments, from an investor standpoint, because I don't get so much of time to really, expend on myself to take care of my investments. So what I do is my direct investments in equities are nothing. I do entire investments through mutual funds, and I am a big, big fan of SIPs. I started it about 17 years back, and it still continues. It's not changed one bit. I get Dahej mein I get ESOPs of my firm, which is a listed company, the parent bank. So I don't need to worry about buying direct stocks, and I'm not anyways allowed to do that. Bulk of my portfolios is equities because my goal is wealth creation. I want to see 100 becoming a 200 in a reasonable time span of 6 to 8 years. And that is what equity markets have delivered historically. 100 to 200, which is doubling of your money in on an average 6 to 7 years, is about 14-15% compounded returns. And that's what equities have delivered with some, obviously, jitter pangs. So therefore, 80% of my portfolio is in equities. The remainder 20% is actually split between real estate and gold. This is over and above the contingency or the emergency coppers that I keep, which takes care of next 6 months of liabilities, which is in fixed income, which is a tail end portion. So I said, for me, my portfolio is a Red Bull portfolio. Okay, it's got all the caffeine boosters, got all the steroids that you required. But yeah, steroids can get pachka at some point in time, but that's okay. As I said, I open my investment portfolio only once a year when I have to give it to my chartered accountant to file the returns.
I think that's the best line. I mean, the viewers need to understand who are there. I mean, every hour, every day on the screen looking at portfolios and the way they keep moving up and down and they have those queries, the heartbeat going up.
See,
so I think that's the way.
No, but I'll tell you what, if you treat your investments like a treadmill or an Apple Watch where you're constantly seeing how many calories I burnt or how much my portfolio gained weight, dude, it's going to be a recipe for disaster. It's going to give you so much of stress. And then you have to work on your cortisol levels. It doesn't work that way. Portfolios cannot operate that way for sure.
I think that's a very good key takeaway win for our viewers there.
Yeah.
So since we are onto the markets, portfolios, in the current market scenario, right, which sectors and themes would you go long on or overweight, and where would you stay light?
So, at the current juncture, given that we are looking at global slowdown, India is still reasonably holding. So I would say inward facing sectors, which are more consumption driven, domestic sectors are something that we prefer. That's point number one. BFSI, banking and financial sector is a space, I call it the Bhishma Pitama, it's an Ichha Mrityu kind of a thing. Even though BFSI sector could be in a bed of arrows, it was still alive. It keeps obviously like
So
a
within BFSI, any specific pockets like an NBFC or
we like
Laliba
NBFCs because the liquidity situation is easing, though the market is still tight on liquidity. But given that interest rates are likely to come off globally as well as in India, that's a space we clearly like. We like the insurance space. We like anything which has annuity and which has potential of a book to gain. In that sense, we also like private sector banks. So I think these are the spaces that we clearly like.
Okay, and where do you prefer to be light? Possibly.
Light, I would say, export oriented is still not
Tariff,
fully out of the woods. So I would say in the IT sector, we would be select picking, not carte blanche, broad based owning the index. That's something which we'd like to probably. Cyclicals will be like your fair weather friends. So while we like metals right now, are we going gung ho and ballistic? Answer is no. Pharma from overweight, we've turned a little bit neutral because it's played out substantively. Are we going underweight? The answer is probably not.
Okay.
Because then there'll be no place to hide, no? You have to deploy somewhere.
yeah.
Ande mein kana raja hota hai. So,
Yeah.
one-eyed man in the land of the blind is where you have to try to find out opportunities. But I think the next 12 to 18 months is going to be an absolute stock pickers market. It's going to be very difficult. Yes, the macro themes do matter. But I think the stock picking ability and the subsequent alpha generation, which actually will come to the fore. You will actually in this phase, really come to know who is the hero and who is the zero.
Zero, yeah. I mean, as you said, the bottom-up approach would kind
That's
of
right,
hold.
yeah.
Okay, I think so much on markets. Lighten up now. So what I'll do is we'll have a fun round where I'll start a sentence and you can finish it up with your favorite dialogues. I mean, from the Bollywood movies.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah. So here's the first one. Investing is like.
Bhul Bhulaiya.
Oh, that's a nice one.
And it will give you so many sequels. It will give you Bhul Bhulaiya Part 2, Part 3. And who knows, it'll be Vidya Balan or somebody else. But that's how the markets are going to be.
Okay. So if you're planning for retirement, you should think of it as. If you're planning for retirement, you should think of it as
Bagban?
Bagban.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lovely thing. I was just thinking, I mean, what responses could possibly there?
Yeah, you have to flower your plants enough so that it takes care of you in the retirement.
Lovely. That's a lovely response there. Okay. So the last one here in this one. When the stock market drops. So when the stock market drops.
धक धक करने लगा.
Okay. Nothing like it. So when I was just reading this, I said if I had to answer this, what would I do? I said, जो डर गया वो मर गया. I mean, गब्बर के ऊपर. If you're just scared, you're gone dead. Okay. So we'll talk of now a couple of these new social media trending terms and how investors should understand that even when they kind of look to build a wealth creation in this market. So one of that is FIRE movement. I mean, for an audience perspective, FIRE is your financial independence, retire early kind of a movement where especially we see this among the Gen Zs and the millennials, right? But given the way their personal and financial goals are so dynamic, so fluid, do you think that their investing style is a little serious or even the term has some merit in itself? I mean, given the markets are so volatile, can we just say, okay, today we have reached an X amount, but it might just wipe off. It's notional at the end of the day.
Sure. So financial independence is a non-negotiable and no marks for guessing. I say that if breathing is not an option, financial independence is not an option. So I think it's an oxygen to your existence, financial existence. And therefore, the acronym FIRE was essentially that if you are financially independent. But I would say that it's not about retire early. I would say to the millennials or the Gen Zs that this is the world of instant gratification for them. They want quick fix solutions.
The Insta money.
That is right. You post a picture, you post a reel on Instagram, and then you want IGs, which is instant gratification.
Yes.
That will not happen, and that will be your biggest impediment to your wealth creation journey, and therefore that financial independence should be delinked from your retirement part. And your passion obviously should be that I will continue to do what I'm doing. That's perfectly fine. But in the same breath, I need to ensure that I have enough wealth to support my passion. I think that is the way I would look at it because. There are a lot of COVID born investors. And what do I mean by that? These are the investors, including millennials, who barely saw a red market.
I remember a friend saying for the first time, so a lot of people started, as you said, during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So it was all green, green, green. One day the market went red. So these are new investors, are very newly. She calls me up and says, Parvati, the markets are red. Again, she calls me up the second day, it's red. I said, you're bound to see that just because you started during COVID and you saw the greens, that red is like the heartbeat just turns up and down.
No, I'll tell you, I met an investor in Baroda and I was doing this event for them and they were 20 somethings, okay? And then he asked me that what kind of returns we should expect from fixed income. So I said, yeah, interest rates are coming down, likely to come down. So yeah, you can expect maybe like 6-7% kind of returns. So he said, oh wow, 6-7%. I get only 3%. I said, I was a little bit taken aback, and I asked him, you mean? I said, sorry, can you explain? He said, I want 3% per month. And I said, dude, I was talking about 6-7% annualized, and you are talking about 3% per month multiplied by 12. You're talking about a 36% return. I said, even if I churn my portfolio 10 times a year, I can't give you 36% return in fixed income. So, and that was the millennial for you, so the yardstick of their return parameters and the way they want to achieve it is so very different. He had a crypto portfolio also, by the way, which I told him that mere to bilkul samajh mein nahi aata, don't ask me for a view on it. And you are the 20 something, so you know it better. So I think these millennials really need to take stock and they need to load up on vitamin P, which is the patience pill.
Absolutely.
They will have vitamin C and the D's and all of that, but for the vitamin M, the P has to definitely precede the M.
And that's a little missing, I guess, with the generation. Right. Okay, so the second popular social term, which is there currently floating around, is the FOMO and the JOMO. So for the audience, FOMO is the fear of missing out, which generally happens when the markets are rallying up and you're sitting on the side fence. And JOMO is when the markets are bleeding and you're again sitting on the fence and not kind of participating. So this is like an investor journey from a FOMO to a JOMO, right?
Yeah.
But in both the cases, we see that the participant is outside the market and always waiting to time the market, the best entry point. What's your take there? You can't just sit outside and really gain.
It is very, very, I always tell all my investors that two people can get you the best timing. Liar and lucky people. मेरा नाम L से शुरू होता है, नाम में भगवान है, but मैं भगवान नहीं हूँ. So it's very difficult for you to give the precise timing unless, as I said, you're liar or lucky. The next best thing, therefore, which you have in your war chest, as I said, Astra Shastra is discipline. Which Astra and Shastra you should not carry with you is greed and fear, which ties in with your FOMO and JOMO. So I think that if you eliminate greed and fear from your investing diet, I think you can be way fitter. It's so very important. So keep this in mind as viewers, as investors. We always get swayed away. And I'm telling you, as commonsensical as you might think it is not very common in the investment world. We end up making the cardinal mistake of doing, when the fruit is said it is forbidden, that is when Adam and Eve wanted to have it. So
I think as a human tendency.
Absolutely. When I tell you, close your eyes and don't think of a monkey, the first thing you do is, monkey yaad aata hai. That is human mind, because mind is a monkey, or man to chanchal hai. Absolutely. So I think that, is something which we need to, kind of desist from, and that is when the tenet of investment will act in your favor. And consistently, never try to time the market, because we don't know how to time it. And if we are honestly brutal about our own investment experiences, timing is always a dual-edged sword. It can cut both ways. Why do you want to get cut?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree there. Okay, so we largely come to the last section of the show today. Yeah, I would need responses from you in 1 or 2 words. Oh. Again, a little bit of Bollywood. Okay. Given that you're a movie buff, we couldn't just avoid this section, right? Okay, so who's the Sikandar of investing for you?
For me, it's equities. I told you, it's a Red Bull, right? So,
okay.
Always, without a doubt.
Okay, Who's the queen of diversification in the markets?
Gold. She is shining. And how? So she remains to be the queen of diversification.
Great. Who is the Bazigar of risk management in the markets?
I would say in this market, it will be fixed income. Reason being, it kind of stabilizes your portfolio. So it is like your, it allows you to balance your risk.
Cushion it.
Exactly. It's your shock absorber.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
So if investing were a movie for you, would you call it Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara or Andaz Apna Apna?
I would say Andaz Apna Apna because markets will have its own trials and tribulations. It will, behave like thugs of Hindustan, like how FPIs were exiting money. But you have to decide whether you are Swades or you are like the Firangi Malla. You have to decide that. So it will be more like Andaz Apna Apna.
Okay. So the last one in this side is, if wealth creation had a tagline, would it be Gully Boys, Apna Time Aayega, or Three Idiots, All Is Well, or any of your favorite lines?
I would say Lage Raho Investor Bhai. I think that would be the trump because this is the journey of Lage Raho. Because wealth creation will not happen overnight. Even for the most adventurous investor, it is Lage Raho. Even for the most boring investor, I think that's a line which will resonate with the wealth creation journey.
Okay, that was great there. So, Lakshmi, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom with our viewers. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you. Had a great time. So, before we wrap this up, for let's say someone who's watching us today and listening to us and has saved up a little money, is not aware and is curious to know where to start. So, what would you advise that someone before you kind of close your...
I would say, you need to start as of yesterday. The next best day is today. And the way to do it, as I said, is go solo. It's perfectly fine. It's okay to go solo if you know it all. But starting is a non-negotiable because even if you're not a swimmer, if you don't get into the pool, you do not know the depth of the water. And the moment you realize you get into the water, you realize, oh, my height is more than the water's height, so I can sustain. I think that is the pehla padav. So I think taking kick-starting, I joke with my fund managers, there is something known as tolding. Not in English, don't go by the English, but I'm the lingo, okay?
Yes,
I told you. So that tolding phase. From tolding phase, you have to go to the scootering phase. Scootering is to kickstart. So I think to the beginner, to the new investor, do the kickstart, forget the tolding, start the scootering.
Okay, that's great insight. Thanks a ton, Lakshmi. It was great having you.
Thank you so much. I also enjoyed this.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of House of Acquaintance. A big thank you to Lakshmi Iyer for sharing her insights into goal-based investing, the power of staying invested, and how true patience pays off in the whole journey towards wealth creation. Remember, building wealth is a marathon and not a sprint. Stay focused, stay invested, and let time weave its magic. If you love this episode, do subscribe and share with your friends. Until then, keep investing, stay track on to your financial goals. This is your host, Parvati Rai, signing off.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.